Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into some common assumptions about women that men often get wrong. Let's get started. You know, it's funny, we've all heard them, those little isms and stereotypes that float around like dust bunnies under the couch. You don't really see them until someone points them out, and then you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Well, today we're doing some serious myth-busting, some stereotype smashing, and hopefully we'll all leave here a little wiser, a little more understanding, and maybe even share a laugh or two. Because let's be honest, some of these are just plain silly, and it's high time we had a good chat about them. Now, why are we doing this? Because understanding each other is so important, isn't it? It's like trying to assemble furniture without the instructions. You might end up with something, but it's probably wobbly and not what the picture showed. These misconceptions can create misunderstandings, they can put people in boxes, and honestly, who likes being in a box, unless it's a really big box with snacks? But seriously, breaking down these outdated ideas helps us connect on a real human level. It's about seeing individuals for who they are, not who they should be based on. Well, nothing much at all. So grab your metaphorical sledgehammers, because we are about to demolish some seriously rickety old beliefs. We're going to look at these assumptions one by one, talk about why they're off base, and hopefully replace them with a little more truth and a lot more kindness. It's going to be fun, it's going to be enlightening, and who knows, you might even learn something new about the amazing women in your life, or even about yourself. Are you ready? I know I am. Let's get to it. All right, first up on our list, and it's a classic, isn't it? The idea that women are emotional. You know the one I'm talking about? Someone says something slightly off, or a sad commercial comes on, and if a woman reacts, it's immediately, oh, she's being so emotional, like it's a defining characteristic, a factory setting that just comes with being female. But let's pause for a second and really think about that. Are women just walking, talking bundles of feelings 24/7, while men are stoic rocks, unmoved by the tides of life? I don't think so, and I bet you don't either, not really. The truth is, everyone has emotions. Men, women, your dog when you pretend to throw the ball. We all feel things. Joy, sadness, anger, frustration, excitement, love, fear. These are human experiences, not gender-specific ones. Imagine a world where only half the population was allowed to feel things deeply. It would be a pretty dull and, frankly, a pretty disconnected world, wouldn't it? So yes, women have emotions and they express them. Sometimes they cry at movies, I know I do, and sometimes they get passionate about things they believe in. That's not being too emotional, that's being engaged and alive. What often gets labelled as emotional in women might just be a greater willingness or societal permission to express those feelings. For centuries, men have often been conditioned to suppress their emotions, to be the strong, silent type, which isn't always healthy for them either. So, when women express what they're feeling, it might seem more prominent, but it doesn't mean they feel than men, or that their emotions are somehow less valid or more chaotic. It's just a different way of processing and communicating. And honestly, there's a lot of strength in being able to acknowledge and articulate your feelings. Think about it. When something wonderful happens, women celebrate with enthusiasm. When something unjust happens, they might express righteous anger. When something sad happens, they might show compassion and empathy. These aren't signs of instability. They're signs of a rich inner life and a capacity for connection. It's like saying a painter uses too many colors. The colors are what make the painting vibrant and meaningful. We need to stop using emotional as a pejorative term for women and start recognizing that emotional intelligence and expression are strengths. So let's retire the women are always emotional trope. Instead, let's acknowledge that women, like all human beings, experience a full spectrum of emotions, and they express them in various ways. It's not a weakness, it's part of what makes us human. And frankly, a world without the depth and breadth of those expressed emotions would be a far less interesting and far less compassionate place to live. Let's appreciate the honesty and courage it takes to feel and to show those feelings. Okay, next up, the age-old, often joked about, but let's be real, sometimes seriously believed misconception. Women are bad drivers. Oh, you've heard it. You've probably seen the memes that eye rolls in movies when a woman is trying to park. It's one of those stereotypes that just keeps on chugging along, like a car that refuses to go to the great junkyard in the sky. But is there any actual, to it, or is it just another one of those things people say without really thinking? I'm betting on the latter, and I think the evidence backs me up. Let's get down to brass tacks, or maybe I should say down to the asphalt. Driving skill isn't magically bestowed upon you based on your gender. It's about a whole bunch of other things. Things like experience, training, attention, reflexes, and how well you understand the rules of the road. Are there bad drivers out there? Absolutely. And guess what? They come in all shapes, sizes, and genders. I've seen men make some, let's call them driving choices. And I've seen women who could give professional race car drivers a run for their money. It's about the individual, not the group. Now, if you want to talk statistics, and who doesn't love a good statistic to clear things up, it gets interesting. For years, insurance companies, those folks who care about who's a risky driver because it costs them money, often gave lower premiums to women. Why? Because statistically, women were involved in fewer accidents, especially serious ones, and tended to commit fewer traffic violations like speeding or DUIs. Now, this can vary by age group and other factors, and things are always changing, but it certainly doesn't support the women are bad drivers narrative. It kind of throws a wrench in the works of that whole stereotype, doesn't it? Think about your own experiences. Have you ever been a passenger with someone who made you grip the dashboard for dear life? Was that person a woman or a man? Chances are you've had those moments with both, and you've probably also been pleasantly surprised by the smooth skills of drivers of both genders. The ability to navigate traffic, park in a tight spot, or merge seamlessly onto a highway isn't a gender-specific talent. It's learned, it's practiced, and it's about being a responsible and aware person behind the wheel. So let's put this myth into reverse and back it right off a cliff. Driving ability is a skill, not a gender trait. The next time you hear someone crack a joke about women drivers, maybe gently remind them that good and bad drivers are found everywhere, in every demographic. Let's focus on encouraging safe driving habits for and leave the outdated, frankly a bit lazy, stereotypes in the rearview mirror where they belong. Because on the road of life, we all deserve a little respect, no matter who's driving. All right, let's move on to a myth that really needs to be debunked, like yesterday. The idea that women are not good at math or science. Seriously, in this day and age, we're still hearing this one. It's like saying the internet is just a fad. This notion is not only outdated, it's just plain wrong, and it does a huge disservice to brilliant minds everywhere. Think about it. Why would someone's ability to understand calculus or explore the mysteries of the universe be determined by their gender? It makes absolutely no sense, and it's time we all agreed on that. The truth is, aptitude for STEM fields, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, has nothing to do with whether you're a man or a woman. It has everything to do with curiosity, problem-solving skills, persistence, and a passion for discovery. These are human traits, not male traits. And history, even when it tried its best to ignore them, is filled with incredible women who have made groundbreaking contributions to these fields. We're talking about pioneers who changed the world with their intellect and dedication, often in the face of significant societal barriers. Let's just name a few, shall we? Marie Curie, a double Nobel Prize winner for her work on radioactivity. Katherine Johnson, one of the brilliant NASA mathematicians whose calculations were crucial for the success of US spaceflights. You saw Hidden Figures, right? Ada Lovelace, considered by many to be the first computer programmer way back in the 19th century. And today, there are countless women leading research, innovating in tech, designing incredible engineering feats, and teaching the next generation of scientists and mathematicians. These aren't exceptions. They're an integral part of the STEM landscape. The challenge hasn't been a lack of ability, but often a lack of encouragement, opportunity, and equal footing. For too long, girls were subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, steered away from these subjects, told they weren't for them. But when those barriers are removed, when girls are encouraged to explore their interests in science and math, they excel. We see it in schools, in universities, in workplaces. The talent is there, the passion is there. What we need is to continue fostering an environment where that talent can flourish without outdated stereotypes holding it back. So let's officially declare this myth busted, shattered, and pulverized into a million tiny, insignificant pieces. Women are not just good at math and science. They are essential to math and science. Their perspectives, their skills, their brilliance are desperately needed to solve the world's biggest challenges. So encourage the girls in your life, support the women in STEM, and let's celebrate the incredible contributions they make every single day. The future is innovative, and it's being shaped by brilliant minds of all genders. Chapter 4, Beyond the Boutique, What Women Want. Spoiler, it varies. Next up on our myth-busting tour, the idea that all women are interested in fashion and shopping. You know the stereotype, the woman who can't resist a sale, whose eyes light up at the mere mention of a new handbag, whose entire weekend revolves around a trip to the mall. Now, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with loving fashion or enjoying a good shopping spree. If that's your jam, fantastic. Rock those new shoes. But to assume it's a universal defining trait for women, that's where we run into a bit of a, shall we say, ill-fitting assumption. The reality is women's interests are as diverse and varied as, well, people's interests. Just like men, women have a vast spectrum of hobbies, passions, and things that make them tick. Some women might be fashionistas, and that's wonderful. They might have an incredible eye for style, an appreciation for design, and find joy in expressing themselves through clothing. But other women, they might be completely indifferent to the latest trends. Their closets might be purely functional, and the idea of spending a Saturday at a crowded mall might sound like their personal version of a nightmare. And that's perfectly okay too. Think about it this way. Do all men love sports or cars or fishing? Of course not. Some do, passionately. Others couldn't tell you the difference between a touchdown and a home run if their life depended on it. And we accept that diversity of interests in men, don't we? So why is it sometimes harder to extend that same understanding to women? Why the assumption that there's a default setting for female interests that heavily leans towards shoes and shopping bags? It's just not accurate, and it's a bit limiting, don't you think? You'll find women who are obsessed with astrophysics, who spend their weekends hiking challenging trails, who are restoring classic cars, who are coding the next big app, who are dedicated to volunteering, who are gourmet chefs, who are competitive gamers, who are learning a new language, who are writing novels, or who are deeply into, I don't know, competitive cheese sculpting. The point is, their passions are as individual as they are. To lump all women into the love shopping category is to miss out on the incredible richness and variety of who they actually are. So let's ditch the stereotype that every woman's heart beats faster at the sight of a 50% off sign. While some might, and more power to them, many others have their hearts set on entirely different pursuits. Let's appreciate the individuality of interests, regardless of gender. Instead of assuming, let's ask. You might be surprised and delighted by the diverse passions you uncover. After all, people are far more interesting than the stereotypes we try to fit them into. Chapter 5. Strong is the new, well, it's always been strong. All right, let's tackle a big one. Literally, the misconception that women are not as strong as men. This idea often pops up in conversations about physical tasks, sports, or even just general capability. Oh, let me get that for you, it looks heavy. While sometimes said with good intentions, it can also stem from this underlying assumption that women are inherently weaker, more fragile, and less capable when it comes to physical strength. But as with so many of these myths, the reality is far more nuanced and frankly far more impressive. Now, if we're talking purely about averages in certain types of physiological measures like upper body muscle mass, then yes, on average, men to have more. But on average is the key phrase here, and it doesn't tell the whole story, not by a long shot. There's a huge overlap between the sexes, and individual variation is enormous. There are countless women who are incredibly physically strong, stronger than many men, and there are men who might not be Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. Strength is not a simple, one-size-fits-all, gender-defined attribute. Furthermore, strength isn't just about how much you can bench press. There are so many different kinds of strength. There's endurance strength. Think of marathon runners, many of whom are women, pushing their bodies to incredible limits for hours. There's core strength, flexibility and agility, areas where women often excel. And then there's mental strength, emotional resilience, the strength it takes to persevere through challenges. These are forms of power that are immeasurable and certainly not exclusive to one gender. Women demonstrate these kinds of strength every single day in countless ways. Just look around you. Think of female athletes who are constantly breaking records and pushing the boundaries of human performance. Gymnasts, weightlifters, fighters, tennis players, soccer stars. Their power, skill and dedication are undeniable. Think of women in physically demanding jobs, firefighters, police officers, construction workers, farmers, nurses, who are on their feet lifting and assisting patients all day. They're living proof that women possess incredible physical strength and stamina, and let's not forget the everyday strength of mothers carrying children groceries and the weight of the world, often all at once. So let's redefine our understanding of strength. It's not just about brute force. It's about resilience, capability, endurance, and power in all its forms. Women are strong. They have always been strong. Instead of underestimating their physical capabilities, let's recognize and celebrate the diverse ways in which that strength manifests. Let's move beyond the stereotype of the weaker sex, because honestly that phrase is so outdated it probably has cobwebs on it, and acknowledge the powerful, capable, and incredibly strong individuals that women are. Chapter 6. The Chatty Cathy Myth. Let's have a word about that. Oh, here's a classic that I'm sure many women have heard, probably accompanied by an exasperated sigh or a playful eye roll from someone. The idea that women talk too much, the chatty Cathy stereotype, the notion that women are just verbally overflowing while men are the strong silent types who only speak when absolutely necessary. It's a persistent image, but is it really accurate, or is it another one of those generalizations that crumbles under a little bit of scrutiny? I think we know the answer, but let's talk about it anyway. First off, the research on who talks more is actually quite mixed. Some studies suggest women talk more, others suggest men talk more, especially in certain contexts like public meetings or when trying to assert dominance. And many studies conclude that the difference, if any, is pretty negligible and highly dependent on the situation, the topic, and the personalities involved. So the idea that women are inherently programmed to use significantly more words per day than men, the science isn't really there to back it up definitively. It seems our perception might be more biased than the reality. What might be happening is that we perceive women's communication styles differently. Perhaps women are more likely to engage in rapport or communication aimed at building connections, sharing experiences, and fostering relationships. This can involve more detailed storytelling, more expressive language, and more back and forth. Men, on the other hand, are sometimes socialized to engage more in report-talk communication focused on conveying information, asserting status, or solving problems, which might be more direct or concise in some situations. Neither style is inherently better or worse, just different. And let's be honest, haven't we all been in situations where someone, regardless of gender, just completely dominated the conversation? Or someone who you wished would elaborate a little more? The tendency to be talkative or reserved is often more about individual personality, cultural background, and comfort level than it is about being a man or a woman. Some people are naturally more verbose, others are more introspective. Some people process their thoughts by talking them out. Others prefer to think quietly. It's a spectrum, and people fall all along it. Instead of labeling women as talking too much, maybe we should consider what they're saying and why. Are they trying to connect, to explain something thoroughly, to make sure everyone feels included? And on the flip side, are we truly listening? Sometimes the issue isn't how much someone is talking, but how much attention others are paying. Valuing different communication styles and fostering an environment where everyone feels heard is far more productive than slapping a too talkative label on half the population. Let's aim for good communication from everyone, which includes both speaking and listening. Chapter 7. Nurturing a human trait, not a woman trait. Let's talk about nurturing. There's this deeply ingrained idea that women are nurturing, that they're born with an innate ability, almost a biological imperative, to care for others, to be gentle, to soothe, to provide comfort. And while it's true that we see incredible examples of nurturing women all around us, mothers, grandmothers, teachers, nurses, friends, is this trait exclusively or even primarily female, or is nurturing a fundamental human capacity that can be and is expressed by people of all genders? I'm firmly in the camp of the latter. To say that nurturing is natural only to women suggests it's hardwired into their DNA, a fixed biological characteristic. But nurturing behaviors like empathy, compassion, patience, and the desire to support others' growth and well-being are largely learned and cultivated. They are skills and qualities that develop through experience, through societal encouragement, and through personal choice. Yes, women are often socialized from a young age to be caregivers, given dolls to play with and praised for being sweet and caring, which can certainly reinforce these behaviors. But look around you and you'll see countless examples of nurturing men. Think of devoted fathers who are deeply involved in their children's lives, providing comfort, guidance, and unconditional love. Think of male teachers who inspire and support their students, male nurses who provide compassionate care, male friends who are there with a listening ear and a shoulder to lean on. These men are not anomalies, they are simply expressing a human capacity for care and connection that is not, and should not be, limited by gender. Their ability to nurture is just as valid and just as natural as any woman's. The danger in stereotyping nurturing as solely a woman's trait is twofold. First, it puts undue pressure and expectation on women to always be the caregivers, sometimes to their own detriment, and can devalue other strengths and ambitions they might have. Second, it can discourage or devalue nurturing behaviors in men, as if being caring or empathetic is somehow unmanly. This does a disservice to men, to their children, to their partners, and to society as a whole, because we all benefit when more people are encouraged to be caring and compassionate. So let's reframe our thinking. Nurturing is not a gender. Nurturing is a verb. It's an action, a set of behaviors, a way of relating to others with kindness and support. It's a quality we should all aspire to cultivate, regardless of whether we're men or women. Let's celebrate nurturing wherever we see it, in fathers, in mothers, in friends, in colleagues. By recognizing nurturing as a human capacity, we open the door for a more caring, supportive, and emotionally intelligent world for everyone. And that's something we can all get behind. Chapter 8. Dream big, ladies and gentlemen, take note. Now let's tackle a myth that can be incredibly limiting, the idea that women are not ambitious, or at least not as ambitious as men. This often comes with the subtle or not so subtle suggestion that women are content with smaller roles, less responsibility, or that their primary ambition revolves around home and family, to the exclusion of other significant achievements. But if you look at the world around us, at the women breaking barriers and forging new paths, this stereotype just doesn't hold water. Not even a teacup full. Ambition is a powerful human drive. It's the desire to achieve something significant, to make a mark, to grow, to succeed. And guess what? This drive isn't handed out based on gender at birth. Women are just as capable of dreaming big, setting lofty goals, and working tirelessly to achieve them as anyone else. The difference often lies not in the level of ambition, but in how it's perceived, how it's expressed, and the obstacles that might stand in the way. For too long, ambition in women has sometimes been viewed negatively. A woman who is assertive and driven might be called bossy or aggressive, while a man with the same traits is called a leader. Think about the incredible women who have shaped our world. We're talking about entrepreneurs who built empires from scratch, scientists who made world-changing discoveries, artists who challenged conventions, activists who fought for justice, and leaders who inspired nations. Were they lacking ambition? Absolutely not. Oprah Winfrey, Malala Yousafzai, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sheryl Sandberg, a local business owner who started with a dream and a small loan. These are all examples of women fueled by incredible ambition and a desire to make an impact. And there are millions more whose names we don't know, working hard every day to achieve their personal and professional goals. It's also important to recognize that ambition can look different for different people. It's not always about climbing the corporate ladder or becoming famous. Ambition can be about mastering a craft, raising a compassionate family, building a strong community, creating meaningful art, or making a difference in a single person's life. Women's ambitions are as diverse as women themselves. To assume their ambitions are inherently smaller or less significant is to misunderstand the depth and breadth of their aspirations. So let's put this myth to bed once and for all. Women are ambitious, they are driven, they have big dreams and the determination to pursue them. What they need is not for us to question their ambition, but for us to create a world where those ambitions can be realized without gender-based barriers or biases. Let's support and celebrate the ambitious women in our lives and encourage the next generation of girls to dream as big as they possibly can. The world will be a much better and much more interesting place for Chapter 9. Single and fabulous, or just content, women's relationship goals. Here's a stereotype that seems to pop up in every romantic comedy, every magazine quiz, and a lot of well-meaning but misguided conversations. The idea that all women are always looking for a relationship and that their ultimate life goal is to find a partner, get married and settle down. You know the image, the woman who sees every new acquaintance as a potential spouse whose biological clock is supposedly ticking like a time bomb. While finding love and companionship is a wonderful and valid goal for many people, women included, it's far from the only thing on their minds. The truth is, women, just like men, have a rich tapestry of goals, dreams, and priorities. A fulfilling romantic relationship can certainly be one of them, but it rarely exists in a vacuum, nor is it always at the top of the list for every woman at every stage of her life. Women are also passionate about their careers, their education, their personal growth, their friendships, their hobbies, their travel adventures, and their desire to make a meaningful contribution to the world. To reduce their entire existence to a quest for a partner is incredibly diminishing. Think about the incredible diversity of women's lives. There are women who are happily single, focusing on building their careers or exploring their passions. There are women who prioritize deep and meaningful friendships as their primary support system. There are women who are dedicated to raising children on their own or with partners, but see that as one important facet of a multifaceted life. There are women who find immense fulfillment in creative pursuits, in activism, in learning, in simply experiencing the world. Their lives are full, vibrant, and complete, whether or not they have a romantic partner by their side. This assumption that women are constantly on the hunt for a relationship can also lead to some awkward and uncomfortable situations. It can put pressure on women to conform to certain expectations, and it can lead others to misinterpret their intentions or devalue their other achievements. A woman can be ambitious, successful, happy and fulfilled without being in a romantic relationship. Her worth, her happiness, and her completeness are not defined by her relationship status. That's a really important thing for everyone to understand and respect. So, let's move beyond the stereotype of the desperate for a man woman. Yes, love is great, relationships can be wonderful, but women's lives, aspirations, and identities are so much broader and more complex than that single focus. Let's celebrate their achievements in all areas of life, respect their individual choices, and understand that a woman's journey is her own, with or without a plus one. She might be looking for love, she might not be, or she might just be looking for a really good cup of coffee and a quiet place to read her book. And all of those are perfectly valid. Chapter 10. Leading the Way. Why women at the helm is a win-win. Our final misconception for today, but certainly not the least important, is the outdated and frankly harmful idea that women are not good leaders. This myth suggests that leadership qualities, things like decisiveness, authority, vision, and the ability to inspire, are inherently male traits. It's the kind of thinking that has historically kept women out of boardrooms, out of high political offices, and out of positions where they can make significant, impactful decisions. But I think we can all agree it's time to send this particular myth packing. For good, what makes a good leader? Is it their gender, or is it their skills, their character, their experience, and their ability to connect with and motivate people? I'm going with the latter. Effective leadership qualities like empathy, strong communication skills, collaboration, resilience, strategic thinking, and integrity are not exclusive to men. In fact, many studies and real-world examples show that women often excel in these areas, bringing unique perspectives and approaches that can lead to better outcomes for everyone. Just look at the world stage, at the corporate world, at community organizations. We see powerful examples of female leadership everywhere, and their impact is undeniable. Think of Jacinda Ardern, former Prime Minister of New Zealand, praised for her compassionate and decisive leadership. Think of Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, navigating complex international challenges. Think of the countless female CEOs, entrepreneurs, non-profit directors, and team leaders who are driving innovation, fostering inclusive environments, and achieving incredible results. These women aren't just good for women leaders, they are good leaders, period. Moreover, diverse leadership, which includes women in significant numbers, is simply better leadership. Women often bring different life experiences, different communication styles, and different problem-solving approaches to the table. This diversity of thought can lead to more creative solutions, better risk management, and a deeper understanding of a wider range of stakeholders, whether those are employees, customers, or citizens. When you only have one type of perspective at the top, you're missing out on a whole lot of talent and insight. So let's actively dismantle the myth that leadership has agenda. It doesn't. Leadership is about capability, vision, and the ability to inspire and guide. Women are more than capable, they are essential. Let's champion female leaders, create pathways for their advancement, and challenge the biases, both conscious and unconscious, that hold them back. The more women we have in leadership roles, the stronger our organizations, our communities, and our world will be. It's not just about equality, it's about excellence, and women are ready to lead. Outro wrapping it up with a bow of understanding. And that's a wrap on our myth-busting adventure today. We've looked at 10 common misconceptions men sometimes have about women, and hopefully we've shed a little light, sparked a little thought, and maybe even had a chuckle or two. The goal here wasn't to point fingers, but to open up a conversation, because understanding is a two-way street, isn't it? It's about moving past those easy, often inaccurate stereotypes and seeing people, all people, as the complex, unique individuals they are. It's amazing how much richer life gets when we do that. Breaking down these old ideas is so important. When we rely on misconceptions, we limit not only the people we're stereotyping, but ourselves too. We miss out on genuine connections, on fresh perspectives, and on the full potential that everyone brings to the table. So, I hope this has encouraged you to think a little differently, to question assumptions, and to approach everyone with a little more curiosity and a lot more empathy. Let's keep these conversations going, not just here, but in our everyday lives. The more we talk, the more we listen, the more we learn. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Let me know in the comments if there are other misconceptions you think we should tackle. And as always, be kind to one another. It really does make the world a better place. See you next time.